Two fixed blades, two completely different philosophies. The ESEE 4 is compact, balanced, and designed around practical field use, while the Ka-Bar Becker BK2 is a thick, heavy-duty beast that looks like it was built specifically for punishment. The question isn't simply which knife is stronger. It's which one gives you the better combination of toughness, cutting performance, control, portability, and real-world usefulness. The BK2 uses a 5.25-inch, 0.25-inch thick 1095 Krovan blade, while the ESEE 4 takes a more compact approach. So when these two unbreakable knives go head-to-head, which one actually deserves the win? Point 1. ESEE 4. The balanced hard-use knife. The ESEE 4 doesn't try to win the toughness argument by simply adding more steel. That's what makes this knife so interesting. Instead of carrying an enormous blade that dominates everything around it, the ESEE 4 focuses on a size that feels practical for everyday outdoor work. Its roughly 4.5-inch blade sits in that sweet spot where you still have enough cutting surface for serious camp tasks without carrying something that starts feeling like a small machete. And that balance changes how you actually use the knife. When you're carving, preparing food, cutting cordage, making shelter components, processing smaller branches, or performing detailed work around camp, the ESEE 4 feels much easier to control than a massive blade. You can make shorter, more deliberate cuts without constantly fighting the weight or momentum of the knife. That matters because real survival work isn't one dramatic swing followed by a camera cut. It's dozens or hundreds of small tasks performed throughout an entire day. A knife that remains comfortable during all of them has a major advantage. The ESEE 4's 1095 carbon steel construction also fits its hard-used personality. 1095 is not an exotic super steel, but that's part of the appeal. It has a long history as a practical carbon steel for working blades, and when the edge eventually needs attention, it isn't difficult to bring it back with ordinary sharpening equipment. The trade-off is corrosion resistance. Leave a knife wet or neglected, and carbon steel will eventually show you why maintenance matters. But for someone who takes care of their equipment, that's a manageable compromise. The full tang construction gives the knife a reassuring level of structural confidence. But here's where we need to be honest about the word unbreakable. The ESEE 4 is tough. It is not magic. A knife is still a cutting tool, and deliberately using it as a pry bar or forcing the blade sideways is asking it to handle loads that don't belong on an edge. The ESEE 4's real strength is that it doesn't need extreme abuse to prove its value. It performs exceptionally well during realistic outdoor work, and that is arguably a more useful definition of toughness. Another major advantage is its portability. Compared with the BK2, the ESEE 4 feels significantly less like something you're carrying specifically because you expect disaster. It feels like a knife you can actually keep with you all day. That distinction becomes important when you're hiking, camping, or building a lightweight survival kit. You don't want every piece of equipment competing for space and weight. You want tools that earn their place. The ESEE 4 does that through versatility. It can handle wood processing, slicing, carving, food preparation, cordage, and general camp chores without becoming specialized in only one category. Its handle also gives you a confident grip during repetitive work, and that control becomes particularly valuable when the knife is being used close to the hand for detailed tasks. Where the ESEE 4 starts to lose ground against the BK2 is obvious: raw mass. The Becker is thicker, longer, and heavier. When the task shifts toward extremely demanding wood processing, the BK2's extra steel gives it a psychological and practical advantage. The ESEE 4 isn't trying to be a sharpened brick. It's trying to be the knife you can use for almost everything. And that's why it remains such a strong contender. If your definition of a survival knife is one tool that I can comfortably carry and use for a huge variety of tasks, the ESEE 4 makes a very strong argument. It doesn't overwhelm you with size, and it doesn't require a special technique to unlock its potential. Pick it up, establish a good grip, and start working. That simplicity is exactly what makes the ESEE 4 dangerous competition for the BK2. The Becker may have more brute force confidence, But the ESEE4 has something equally important: balance. It gives you enough blade to handle serious outdoor work, while remaining small enough to stay useful when precision matters. In a real survival situation, that versatility can be more important than having the thickest blade on the table. The ESEE4 isn't the knife that screams destroy everything. It's the knife that quietly keeps working. Point 2. Ka-Bar Becker BK2. The heavy-duty beast. The Ka-Bar Becker BK2 approaches this entire competition from the opposite direction. Where the ESEE4 says, let's keep the knife practical, the BK2 seems to say, how much steel can we reasonably put into a field knife? Its official specifications list a 5.25-inch blade, a substantial 0.25-inch blade thickness, 1095 Crow Van steel, a flat grind, and a total length of 10.5 inches. The knife weighs around 1 pound before the sheath, which immediately tells you this is not designed around ultralight backpacking. The first thing you notice when you handle the BK2 is its physical presence. It feels dense, solid, and extremely confident. That thick blade changes how the knife interacts with material. When you're processing wood, splitting smaller pieces, or performing other demanding camp tasks, the extra blade thickness gives you a substantial amount of structural confidence. It doesn't feel delicate, and that's precisely the personality Becker intended. The 1095 Crow Van steel also fits the role. Ka-Bar lists the BK2 at 56 to 58 HRC with a 20-degree grind angle, and the knife is made in the USA. But here's where the BK2 becomes more complicated than its tank reputation suggests. The same thickness that gives it confidence during heavy work also makes it less efficient during fine cutting. If you're preparing food, carving small pieces of wood, or trying to make delicate feather sticks, the huge slab of steel can feel like overkill. You're carrying a pound of knife because you want the extra strength, but you're paying for that strength every time you put the knife on your belt or inside your pack. This is the BK2's central trade-off. It gives you more brute force capability, but less finesse. That's not necessarily a flaw. In fact, if your priorities are heavy outdoor work and maximum structural confidence, it may be exactly what you want. The BK2's handle is designed around hard use, and its overall proportions make it comfortable enough to maintain control even when you're applying significant force. But once again, Unbreakable needs a reality check. Ka-Bar's own care information explicitly warns against improper uses such as throwing, using the blade as a pry bar, screwdriver, digging tool, or other work for which the knife wasn't designed. That's an important point for this comparison because the BK2 has such a tough reputation that people sometimes assume the knife can be abused without consequences. No, a thick blade is still a knife. The advantage is that the BK2 gives you a larger margin of confidence during legitimate hard work. That's where it starts pulling away from the ESEE4. If you're processing tougher wood and want a blade that feels more comfortable under heavier loads, the BK2 has a clear advantage. Its thicker stock and larger overall package make it feel more like a dedicated heavy-duty survival tool than a general-purpose outdoor knife. But that advantage comes with weight. If you're walking 10 miles through difficult terrain, you may eventually question whether that extra steel is worth carrying. If you're setting up a remote camp and expect the knife to spend hours processing wood, the equation changes. Suddenly the weight becomes less important, and the BK2's strength becomes more valuable. That's why this knife is so difficult to rank. It isn't necessarily better than the ESEE4 at everything. In fact, it's clearly less convenient for some jobs. But it does one thing extremely well. It gives you confidence when the workload gets serious. The BK2 also has a reputation among users as a rugged camp knife, and that reputation comes from the design itself rather than some complicated marketing trick. The blade is thick. The construction is straightforward. The handle is substantial. There are very few things here that need explaining. It's a tool built around physical strength. And that is ultimately why the BK2 can challenge the ESEE4 so effectively. The ESEE4 is the better balanced knife for someone who wants one compact blade to do almost everything. The BK2 is the better choice for someone who looks at a difficult outdoor task and thinks, I'd rather have more steel than I need. If the challenge is about pure hard-use confidence, the BK2 has the advantage. If the challenge is about carrying and using one knife all day across a wide variety of tasks, the ESEE4 becomes much harder to beat. That's the real battle here. Not which knife is simply stronger, but which kind of strength matters more to you. So, which one would you trust when the easy options disappear? The ESEE4 takes the overall win because it delivers the better balance of toughness, control, portability, and everyday usefulness. But the Ka-Bar Becker BK2 is the knife I'd choose when the priority shifts towards serious heavy-duty work and maximum blade strength. Neither knife is literally unbreakable, but both prove that good design matters more than flashy claims. ESEE4 or BK2, which one would you carry? Drop your choice in the comments. And if you enjoy real-world knife comparisons, survival gear tests, and hard-use rankings, make sure to subscribe for the next battle.